Do we have any Marisa Tomei fans in the house today? I would hope so. You're in the right place. Let's go ahead and waste no more time. Let's bring her out, ladies and gentlemen of Fan Expo Dallas, Marisa Tomei! How's it going? There's a lot of people here. I want to start out maybe not in the most obvious place, the obvious place being your work in Marvel, though we'll get there. I want to talk about your producing work that you have done recently. You produced 4 films, 2 of them documentaries. In case people didn't know, this is kind of the perfect place for fans. So kind of talk about getting into that aspect behind the camera.
Okay, what do you want to know?
Just coming from acting as long as you have into producing and why those projects spoke to you, especially the 2 kind of documentaries, and why those meant something to you.
Well, can you tell them what they are?
Yeah, so the 2 documentaries that you produced are See the Untold Story, and most recently in 2022 was Lakota Nation versus the United States, which they are beautiful documentaries and very important messages that I think.
Yeah, I was just invited onto those.
Yeah.
I was actually the Seed documentary, SEED, Seed. It was about preserving the heritage seeds, because a lot of our seeds are, for example, there used to be, I don't know, hundreds of types of apples, right? We only have like 5 now. So it becomes our guardianship to look after the seeds and to be sure that we have a variety of foods for our own nutrition and of course for the planet, for the soil. So I had donated to their project, and then I guess when they made the documentary, then they invited me on and said, "Hey, we're going to take this seed banking project and take it further." And then with the Lakota Nation, I had some friends who were working at the indigenous community there, and they invited me onto that one. But the narrative that just recently came out is going to be again at Provincetown Film Festival, which is called High Tide. I have a small part in that, but I'm very close with the writer-director, and we work together to put it together. So he asked me to come on as an executive producer.
And then after that, plays, festivals will be streaming where people can watch it?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, but I don't know the schedule.
Not that far yet, yeah. So we gotta talk about my cousin Vinny, of course. Can't have a panel with you and not talk about that. Of course, you were 27 years old at the time, I think. An early role, and then you end up winning an Academy Award, which it's such a special movie, but it also to be acknowledged in that way, where most comedies are not acknowledged in that way, and comedic roles, and especially female comedic roles. So, what is it like for you in your career early on to win that award that early on? Does that kind of send you into a weird tailspin in a way?
No, it's into a tailspin. I mean, it's something that was very, I wanted to see what the sign language was for tailspin.
Yeah. Just exactly what you think.
It was just obviously a lucky privilege and helped me to be able to keep working and to work in film, because I really couldn't get a film job till then. I mean, it was in my mind, even though I was whatever 27, 28, whatever it was, I thought, oh my God, I'm never gonna break into movies, and I really wanted to. So that helped me continue to work.
Yeah, it's such a special movie, and I just rewatched it this week, and there's not a movie quite like it, which is why I think people love it the way they they do.
So well written. That
It's-
script is so good.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Wynn, who was the
Jonathan
director.
directed it and Dale Lano wrote it.
Yeah, and Jonathan Wynn directed Clue, which is of course a great comedy, but he also had a lot of great. I mean, the movie is like hailed as one of the best legal movies by the bar. But what do you think, from your perspective, makes it so special? Because it is a comedy, but it's also a drama. Especially in the '90s at that time, it's in this unique space of a kind of a.
I think it's a comedy, but it's just a character-driven comedy that we don't do that much anymore, which I wish we did.
I do too.
Actually.
Yeah. If my Cousin Vinny came out today, it would be like a Sundance movie or something. It would be like an indie movie.
It's true. That whole section of kind of even the budget doesn't really exist.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about working with Fred Quinn. He's so sweet as a human, but he's so sweet as the judge in the movie. He passed away the year after the movie came out. I know his interactions in the movie were much more with Joe Pesci, but do you have any kind of memories of working with him?
I just really remember him fondly and his kindness. I was kind of overwhelmed at the time, so I don't remember that much of it. I wasn't, as much as I had wanted to be on a movie set, I really hadn't been, so it was a lot to learn and take in. But he was incredibly generous, very, very, very warm-hearted. Just like made me feel very sick.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine as a young actress, just it's a lot to take in, but you're kind of key scene. You're kind of monologuing in courtroom, which is all of you, and it's a lot of dialogue, and you're carrying it. But it is such you're such a shining star in that scene. It's such an incredible scene. Like still to this day, watching it, it's really.
Yeah, as I said, Dale Lano wrote it. It's just the writing is just fantastic. We kind of live for that kind of writing.
Yeah, it's such a performance. So, did I read correctly that they were talking about doing a sequel at some point where it like took place in Britain or something?
Oh, that would be great. I haven't heard that. That would be great.
I mean, they could, we see sequels much later all the time now. It's one of those things where they could. You could be a lawyer. Who knows where it could go in the movie?
True.
Yeah. Or a fashion designer.
If she ever got that baby she wanted.
Yeah. She's a fashion designer / lawyer. I would love that. Both on screen and off. Fashion has always been, even today, it seems like it's kind of been a part of your identity and I mean your looks on screen. Is that something that has always kind of been important to you?
No, not really.
Really?
No.
It's just effortless cool. We all want to be as effortlessly cool as you.
I think about it now more because it's something that there's just so many more cameras and so much more media, and it's like a thing now, but it wasn't when I was growing up.
Right.
I mean, I was exposed to some of it because my Aunt Barbara was in the fashion business, so she could dress me up a little bit. Right now, I would just admire her. It was more just that she was just making a subconscious imprint on me of my aunt, but it wasn't something that I saw now. But then as we got older, I'm like, it's kind of
You're not you're like, get chilled in sweatpants and a t-shirt. And then later in your career and transitioning into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as you did, which you had really done comedies and dramas. You had not done a movie that was on that scope and scale, and yet coming into Spider-Man, those movies to me are still, even though Spider-Man's a superhero, they're character movies. It's about interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, that's what John Watts, our director, always said about those from the beginning. He said this is gonna just keep thinking about it like an independent movie.
Yeah, and he himself came from the independent world, but was that still? Did you kind of second guess making that choice? Because the MCU was already what it was at the time. you had a sense of what it would be like for an actor to come into that kind of massive Marvel universe.
No.
Was there hesitation, or you just?
No, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
No, you're assuming something. No, I did not know about
Yeah.
it. I had to ask about it.
So then, once you were in it, was it, you were kind of finding yourself in it, was it overwhelming in that way? So kind of...
No, it's what we said to John.
Yeah.
Great director, really focusing on character and just kept me included in the process.
Yeah. And I mean, you of course worked with Robert Downey Jr. before and Chaplin.
Yeah, and the lady.
So what was it like, kind of all these years later, to work with him again, but in a very different? I mean, you couldn't be more opposite from Chaplin to Spider-Man.
It's true. It's very true. It's just our job still, so I don't know. I mean, he was very gracious with me and very welcoming and wanting me to do the part.
Yeah. And your kind of collaboration and relationship on screen with Tom Holland it feels so sweet and special, and it's so interesting because we have many other versions of what that relationship is like, and other versions of what Aunt May is like, which have been very different, but there's something really special that I think spoke to a lot of people about the dynamic between those two characters, and you and Tom as actors. You seem to just have this kind of connection, and it only really works because of that in that way.
Well, maybe because we both had our first day on set at the same time, so we were both like, what's up? And he was so young. I just saw him in Romeo and Juliet. He's on stage speaking the verse very beautifully in the West End in London. He can really do anything. He's a brilliant actor, and I was in London and I went to see him, and he's fantastic. He can do anything. I mean, there you have him doing Shakespeare. You probably know that he's been Billy Elliot. He can dance, he can do the stunts, he can do the comedy, he can do the drama, he can cry. And then Naomi Watts movie where he was crying forever. He can do everything. He's really just an amazing performer.
He's really kind of one of those old school actors in that way, coming from the 50s or 60s that can do it all and bounce back and forth. To your point, I think that, obviously these characters mean so much to us. All of us are here because we grew up with comic books, and then to see them, come alive on screen in that way. But those movies work in the way that you connect with us and speak to us because of the performances and the actors, and the fact that the MCU is able to bring in that caliber of actor like yourself and Robert Downey Jr. I mean, it's kind of incredible that you get to play with all of those people in this weird, colorful world. So, yeah, I don't know. That wasn't a question. Just a statement. I do want to talk about, and I'm sorry if it's too soon, and also I'm sorry if some of you have not yet seen No Way Home, but that's kind of your own fault at this point. You've had a few years. Of course, that was something that was like that was a very tough scene and sequence with Aunt May, losing Aunt May and the way that happens, and just like kind of such a raw, powerful, emotional scene. Did you know coming in that was kind of always the plan for her character, or is that?
No, I think they planned it. They just planned it right before the next installment.
Yeah, and then did that kind of feel? I don't know. I guess it felt so sad, of course, but it felt so right for what needed to happen in that moment and with that character. Even though I hate saying that because it's like
sad, that's so right.
Well,
did anyone ever say that about death before?
I mean, it was also one of those things where this is a different approach with Uncle Ben. Usually that's kind of his origin story, and we've seen it happen. And by this third one, we're like, oh, thank God, at least we don't have to see Uncle Ben die again. And then we're like, oh, wait, Aunt May is Uncle Ben. but it was that much. It was that much more powerful, and yet again, that much more kind of important for that moment with the character.
That was John Watts' idea.
Yeah. Someone kind of gifted me a question in a beautiful way. I guess it was a female fan. She's right there. And I really love this question, and I'm actually mad at myself that I was not clever enough to think of it. But you know, Stan Lee's iconic "with great power comes great responsibility" line, which is like, you know, sewn into the fabric of our pop culture. People kind of, it's words to live by. We never really seen it on screen again, and yet the way that Aunt May delivers it, and to be a female character, a strong female character delivering that line, it's a different kind of meaning and power behind it. So did that feel, I don't know, did that feel weighty to you at all?
It felt wordy.
Wordy.
But there was, because I say that it felt wordy because it was a very specific way that it hadn't been being repeated.
Yeah.
Because John Watts wanted to go back to the original way that it was written the first time in the first comic. So it had a very interesting syntax, which was I might not be remembering correctly, with great power there must come.
You got it.
So it was just different than what we always think of it.
Right.
So that's why it sounds so different. But yeah, I think John felt that May Butler was the person who had influenced him the most, really, in his life, and who had sown the seeds of him being a community organizer and a superhero for local communities, and that she infused him with how he would treat Mary Jane and how he would be with women and how he would conduct himself. So he felt that was appropriate for her to.
Yeah, and now there's literally people who have it tattooed on their bodies. I'm sure there are some of those people in this room. I would like to talk about the wrestler as well, which you know was you know, kind of another such a special movie at a different part in your career that, you know, earned you a nomination and was kind of an independent film in a way that we hadn't quite seen. You know, the kind of grittiness and the rawness from Darren Aronofsky and obviously Nikki's performance and your performance. What was that experience like working on the wrestler? Just
Let it out.
I guess just it's one of those movies that I think, again, kind of in a very different way than My Cousin Vinny. Obviously, it's a weird double feature. It is a movie that I don't think that there's a comp for it. There's, you know, there hasn't been a movie like it, and there's not been a movie since. It's one of those movies that kind of took the world by storm in a way. But it's. Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know if I got the part legit or just
You
old
did.
time sake.
You got it. Yeah, you got it legit. Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, what has that been like?
He was younger than me in my brother's class.
Yeah. So it's almost like shooting a student film in high school in a way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just with a couple bigger names. Yeah. What's, you know, just kind of opening it up and going broader. Other than your work at Marvel, a lot of your movies have been comedies and dramas and independent films, and so it's interesting that this space at a pop culture convention has opened up. I mean, we have Gina Davis, Susan Sarandon, their one co-star, Colin Hunt was here. It's kind of a fun reunion. What is it like to kind of be a part of these things in another weird world that you're coming into?
I think it's great. I love meeting all of you. I think it's so because it's something we don't really get to do. I mean, if you do a play, you can sometimes meet people afterwards who've seen the play, but not the film. So I think I love it.
Yeah.
It's really a special interaction, and also I kind of get to go to different places in the country.
Yeah.
So I had my good barbecue last night. This is just random.
Wait, okay, hold on. Now we finally.
She ordered it though, so I can't tell you where it's from. But
Now we're
if
finally.
you're gonna ask.
Now we're finally getting to like the meat of things here. You and Susan Sarandon just eating barbecue last night.
Yeah, we're on the road.
That's so cool.
We're here. We're eating barbecue.
And how was it?
It was really good.
It was good, yeah. See, Dallas kind of has a barbecue complex, if you will. We're very much overshadowed by Austin's barbecue in terms of the kind of battle of Texas barbecue.
We'll have to wait till I do a Fan Expo in Austin.
We'll have to check in with you. Yeah. But Dallas has good barbecue now, and most of it is actually Austin transplants that have come down and do. So it's technically Austin barbecue. That's fair to say. Do you ever get to kind of get out at these things and then like explore the city? Are you?
It kind of depends on how the days go.
Yeah.
I try to see something local. Yesterday was a little long, so we had.
Yeah. As I said, it's true. I didn't think about that you really don't, other than maybe a press tour, which is very insulated and kind of you're in a different city, you don't get kind of to kind of settle in a certain city. So
yeah, but you have time to go to like a museum or a special monument or something
Yeah.
like that generally, which is really fun.
Yeah.
It's great.
yeah, I mean you're literally like right on the other side of this wall is we don't really like to talk about it, but a pretty historic thing with JFK happened right outside the building, and there's great museums down here. So hopefully you get to do that at some point.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Marisa Tomei. She'll be at a table the rest of the day, so stop by and say hi. Yeah. For a couple hours, so you gotta go. Another hour. Get it in. If you want to go see Marisa